Well, hey, good Thursday evening to you guys. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you, and it's good to be seen by you. And thank you very, very much for the patience and understanding yesterday. I was having a time. You know, those things happen to me. I don't have a crew. I don't have, no, that's not true. That's not true. I was about to say something extremely dumb. I do have a crew. I do have backup plans. I do have contingencies. It's just things just didn't come together. Things didn't come together. But anyway, so anyway, I'm here. Yeah, I'm back. I'm back now. And I just wanted to say hey, and I want to thank you guys for understanding. And I want to say hey to my co-host Kyle, who also couldn't make it last night. We will be back to tabletop gaming next week. I just want to say that right now. We will be back with Classic Traveler. We will be back with First Edition AD&D. And tomorrow night, we will be back with Gamma World. So I hope you guys are excited about that. I'm excited about it. And by the way, if you're new here and you don't know who I am the Dungeon Delver, Bill Sylvie. Got so excited talking about things that I just forgot to switch on all those cool special effects that you guys helped me do. But anyway, I'm coming back as an LJN figurine. Not quite. But speaking of figurines, one thing I want to mention this. We have 3 reservations remaining for the Owlbear prints. 3 reservations remaining. I am offering those. You get 3 Owlbear miniatures, the classic Chinosaur, the OD&D Owlbear, and the 1E AD&D Monster Manual Owlbear. It's 3 figures. It's $45. We have 7 reservations, and if you are thinking about getting in on this, you're kind of I don't know, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. This is it. Tuesday, I'm unoffering those, and we'll go on to a new project. So if you're thinking about that, if you're on the fence, you have until Tuesday. You email me at bsylvia@gmail.com. You put Owlbear order or Owlbear reservation, whichever you want to do, in the subject. In the body, give me your name, how many sets you want, and your shipping address. And there are 3 unspoken for. But if I don't get 10, we move on to the next, which will probably be Warduk. 2 set of Warduk miniatures. So let me know. But there are just 3 of those sets left. And that's what's happening there. That's what's going on there. We have some time tonight. I'm not doing the college football show this evening, so we have plenty of time to just meander and chill and get caught up. And let's do that. Let us do that thing. I'm ready to, if you guys are ready to. There's something, I needed a mental palate cleanser yesterday. I was trying to do some work and nothing would fire off. Like, I would sit down. This was part of what was throwing me off, why I wasn't doing show stuff yesterday. Because I'd sit down, I'd look at the stuff that I have to do. I put my fingers on the keyboard, and it was literally like my brain would yank the emergency brake and stop me from working, because of the nature and the amount of the material that I had to do. And eventually I ended up talking to the person that I'm doing the work for and said, here's the problem that I'm having. And that person said, okay, here's what I can do. And in amongst the conversation, I get a deadline extension. So everything is good. And this is someone I respect and I consider a friend and I care for, and I've known for decades now. Decades, plural. I have known this person. And I was so relieved and so thankful that I was able to talk to them and get everything sorted out. What does one think of Opeth? Oh, you guys are talking about heavy metal. So I had this thing and I was trying to figure out where to publish and what format to publish. And I thought, if I add a few words and post this up and look at it, I'll realize, yes, I actually am a decent writer. And it helped for like 5 minutes. And then I was back to self-doubt and self-recrimination, and it was unfun. Not what I had posted up. Yeah, no, Doomsword. Nose has been to the grindstone today, and will be more tomorrow, and Saturday, and Sunday, and Monday, and then I turn in my drafts on Tuesday. So everything will be hunky-dory. So I posted this on Facebook, and I know a bunch of you guys don't use Facebook, and I actually tried to cut it up to stick on Twitter, but I guess even if you can do a message thread, a message chain on Twitter where you have a bunch of linked posts, you can only do them to a certain amount, and this ran out of that, and I thought, okay, well, I'll take images, I'll take screenshots and post them, and I just haven't gone to it yet. And this is what I said. This is what I had to say. Good Lord. And I want to talk about something. Now, I know a lot of you guys might not have this issue, but there's something, and I think there's an unfair misunderstanding about what I'm going to mention here now. And by the way, yes, we're going to let's read Deities and Demigods. That is going to happen. But again, we have time. We have time tonight. I am more than willing to sit and talk about multiple subjects. I will hold forth on many different topics with you guys. So here's the subject, and it's about being an adversarial DM. And this is just something, this is the philosophy that I have formulated around being an adversarial DM. And rarely do I say to you guys, I want you to do this, but I really want you to hear me out. And I really want you to understand this. And if you have to come back to this part of the video and re-listen to it, or if you want, I can paste this up to the Discord. Yes, we have a Discord. But there's something about being an adversarial DM. Well, first of all, what is an adversarial DM? In most people's minds, it's I'm going to get you and I'm going to kill or hurt your character, or I'm going to screw things up because I think it's fun and funny to do. And that's not the case. That's not the case of what being an adversarial DM is. So let me read this, because this is the post that I put up on Facebook in total. And you guys can love it or hate it. We can talk about the fine bullet points of it if you want. If you do it right, being an adversarial DM can be the most fun thing, not just for you, but for you and your players. The expectation is that I don't assume to know what's best for you at your tabletop or every game type. This might not work for Twilight 2000, for Cyberpunk, for Vossen, for Mork Borg, for and look, I'm sorry, that's how it's pronounced. Morkborg, Mork Borg. I get people coming at me, well, it's spelled Morkborg, but it's pronounced Howard Johnson's. I'm like, anyway. But I don't know what's best for you at your game. I know what works for me. I know what works for classic Dungeons and Dragons. But if you're ready to throw a little bit of ghost pepper into your games, let's continue. Some people think that being an adversarial DM automatically means being mean and confrontational to your players and the world to their characters. That you need to do things like say, did you take the shoe tying feat? No. Well, your shoes aren't tied. And because of that, they're loose enough to allow filthy water and muck to slosh up into your shoes. And since I know you don't have the pedicurist subclass, your toenails are already in bad shape. Therefore, you have gangrene. So give me a saving throw versus death. And really nothing could be further from the truth. Being an adversarial DM doesn't mean making your campaign world too hard to survive in, your challenges too deadly to attempt to overcome. It means making them just hard enough. Any DM, good or bad, can wipe out a party. It's DM fiat. It's magic. I ain't got to explain shit. That's not difficult to do as a DM. That's lazy DMing. It's lazy DMing just as much as saying encumbrance doesn't matter. Anyone can have a huge ancient gold dragon companion, infinite hit points, a ring of infinite wishes, the world bends to your will, and all of that's at first level. That is equally lazy DMing as rocks fall, everybody dies, just to make me titter. Now, I want you to repeat after me. Being an adversarial DM means being balanced. It is the lawful neutrality of DMing. Yes, the world can hurt your character. Yes, things can go wrong. No, I'm not going to amend that last batch of high rolls that sent spears into your character who was fighting while wearing a toga and a smile and nothing else. Being an adversarial DM is not about making things too hard. It is about making things just hard enough. It's not difficult to TPK party after party. It really isn't. The hard part, the part that takes effort, skill, preparation, dedication, care, crafting, and love of your hobby and your fellow gamers, is keeping the players' characters alive. To paraphrase Tommy Lee Jones, K from Men in Black, a character is smart. A party is dumb and panicky. A single character will think carefully about what they're doing, where they are, and how much danger they might be in. A party will charge straight into a red dragon's lair, making hella noise and shouting their plans to each other, while Smog there loads up an 88 hit point breath attack that everyone bunched up to catch in their cherubic little faces. It is the purview of the DM to put such challenges at the feet of the players and let what happens happen. You don't have to have the dragon chase them into their homes, murder their families, kill everyone in the town, burn the town down, and then stomp on the rubble on day one. That's easy mode for a DM. Getting everyone out alive when they've planned well, when they've used invisibility 10-foot radius and silence 15-foot radius and have assembled a set of small unit tactics that would make a Green Beret envious. But because of bad die rolls, it all goes pear-shaped. That's where you shine as a DM. Now, let me address this. This might be on the tip of your tongue if you know me, and that is, you might say, Yeah, Bill, but you're old school. Gary was an adversarial DM. You subscribed to his way of thinking, and he loved killing off parties. Let me break off something from the Dungeon Master's Guide for you. And this is a direct quote from Gary's typewriter to your ears. Now and then, a player will die through no fault of his own. He or she will have done everything correctly, taken every reasonable precaution, but still the freakish roll of the dice will kill the character. In the long run, you should let such things pass, as the players will kill more than one opponent of their own with more than one opponent with their own freakish die rolls at some later time. Yet you do have the option to arbitrate the situation. You can rule that the player, instead of dying, is knocked unconscious, loses a limb, is blinded one eye, or invoke any reasonably severe penalty that still takes into account what the monster has done. It is very demoralizing to the players to lose a cared for player character when they have played well. Take in everything that Gary just said there. At no point does he say, "Bravo, you killed a character with dice." He says, by and large, let it stand, but there are outlying circumstances. Even Gary knew that you could be a softie and still adversarial. That's something you can have in most games regardless. Now, what's the point of all this? Why be this way? I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret, and this is something I keep close to my obsidian black adversarial DM's heart. I love seeing the players succeed. For every groan I give when I lose initiative, when I hit but do absolute minimal damage, let me tell you about the time I unleashed a Shoggoth on an 11-strong party and did 8 points of damage for the whopping 5 rounds it survived against a gaggle of 6th to 7th level players. For every puzzle solved and trap avoided, despite cackling when that pesky halfling thief is smeared like peanut butter against the back wall of the dungeon because they blew a search for traps roll before opening that armoire. I want the players to win every time. I don't have a vendetta against anyone who comes to the table and has fun. While I can't say that I have been friends with everyone I've DM'd, because that would entail hundreds of people with whom I had no contact except at conventions or store events, I will say that I've always been friendly with them. And the folks who are in my 8-year-old, now almost 9-year-old long campaign on Monday nights, they are my friends. And I do care for them. Why would I want anything less than maximum fun for them? If I played one whit beneath my skill as a DM, if I showed my cards, gave constant do-overs, took the thrill out of winning, how would that be fun? If you're on the roller coaster, do you ask the attendant to please go slowly? Is there somebody in the theater who works there saying, no, the hero's actually okay during a tragic moment in a film? I revel in my players winning because I know they beat the absolute worst that I could throw at them while still playing within the bounds of the rules. Not because I handed them everything on a silver platter. You know, I let a friend of mine take the reins while real life impinged this past autumn. And for 8 weeks, we played Keep on the Borderlands, and we went through the Caves of Chaos. I felt every bruise and every sword blow that my paladin took. And the paranoia creeping in that we wouldn't make it out alive. I felt how every combat hinged on a single lucky die roll, and I know he did too. I was glad we made it. He was glad we made it because we overcame by dint of good tactics, skill, and yes, some damn lucky die rolls. Give your players your absolute best and they'll feel that thrill, and that is something that you should embrace. And that's what being an adversarial DM means. It doesn't mean just bolts out of the blue, rock falls, everybody dies. I'm the old grognard, ha ha ha. I put your first level characters through the Tomb of Horrors. That's easy. That's firing up Doom, jumping straight to level 30 and typing ID DQD, degreeless mode, God mode. All right. Yes, you can do it, but ultimately, where's the thrill? What's the point? If you beat the players, beat them fair and square. But if they overcome what you throw at them, that's awesome. And hearing them whoop and cheer and the high fives and the praise that comes back to you for running a great game is worth more than 1,000 rocks fall, everybody dies moments in tabletop. And that's how I feel. That's my mode and modus. That's the way I feel about things. So I just hope that little bit of wisdom passed on to you guys is something that, you know, something that you can take away and you know, enjoy more. An adversarial DM makes the players earn their victories as well as their defeats. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Headbanger says, being an adventurer should be very hard. Otherwise, every farmer or barkeep in the world would want in it, and you'd be fighting other adventuring parties as well as monsters for loot. That's a great point, too. Very valid point. So, with that said, let us talk about the worst pantheon. The worst pantheon in the entirety of deities and demigods. The worst pantheon, and you might be thinking, well, Bill, we already talked about the Lovecraftian mythos, where the best you can expect is the lawful neutrality of the Yithians. No. Trust me. Cthulhu's evil, you know, is coming. You know it's bad. You know it's dangerous. No, the pantheon that I'm talking about that is the worst, and this is historical as well, is this one right here. The Greek myths. Now, we all took humanities in high school. We all had to learn a little bit about, you know, various deities and demigods. Damien, that is awesome. That is a great story. You know, one of these nights, I want to start doing the occasional episode, because YouTube is full of D&D and tabletop RPG horror stories. Like, you know, that's when we found out that the guy playing the thief, you know, ate his boogers, or you know, was some horrible person outside of game, or was emailing unsolicited nude images of his body to another player. You know, that there's so much of that. I want to start doing D&D triumph stories where I read emails from people who had great games and comment on those. Pan, Hexcrawl, you may ask me a specific question. That is probably one for the Discord. So please ask me in the Discord. It's not that I like whatever, just ask me in the Discord. It might be so all-encompassing that it kind of goes beyond something that I can answer in just a few minutes. Anyway, the Greek myths. All of the Greek gods are bad. They are capriciously bad. Even the good ones are bad. Of all the stories that I read about Greek gods when I was a kid, one of them about the sculptor Pygmalion, one single one of them, the Greek god didn't do something absolutely 100% completely shitty to a mortal. Now, the thing about the Greek gods is that they're a reflection of human foibles. But they're the worst foibles. And the reason that the Greek gods are worse than Cthulhu, they're worse than Loth, they're worse than Blibdulpoop, they're worse than Grumsh, Maglobiet. The reason they're worse than all of them is they parade around under the idea that they're good and they love their worshipers. Let us take, and this is one of my favorite bully pulpits about Greek mythology, let us take the Medusa. Someone compared Medusa to, now I said it was Minerva, I think it was actually Athena, it may have been Hera. Someone compared her looks. She didn't run around saying, I'm just as pretty as that. Somebody said, hey, I think. It's never even said that they said it to her. So she was gloating. And a god with all the powers of life and death, you think they'd say, that's awesome. I'm going to appear to her in a vision and say, you're now exalted. That is awesome. I want you to preach my word and my word only. No. What did she get? What did she get? Vision that turns people to stone and snakes for hair. Out of a good deity, just because somebody said she was good looking. In my opinion, the Greek gods are the absolute worst. Now, when they became the Roman gods, they the Romans sort of kind of gave them a bit of a makeover and made them a little bit more heroic, but not much. But there are no Roman myths because they're just the same with a slightly different coat of paint. So let's jump into the Greek myths and see what Jim has to say about them. Honestly, I'm so irked at this, I just want to skip them, but we're doing a whole deep dive. The Greek assembly of gods is probably more familiar to most readers than others of the group in this work because they were woven into a literature that has lasted down through the ages. Many of our civil concepts can be traced from the assumed actions of the gods and their mates. Oh boy. That would answer a lot of societal questions. Hello, Chris. Greetings. Many of the gods of Greece descended from the greater Titans, who were elder beings before the time of mortals and therefore did not need worshippers to make them strong. The worship by man gave power to the sons and daughters of the Titans of a type that was not known to their elders. This enabled them to throw down the Titans and gain mastery of the prime material plane. Maybe the Titans were onto something. Because of their need for human worship, the Greek gods show all the traits of mortals that they claim to be so high above. The gods are highly jealous, envious, petty, and fly into blind rages in an instant. The first places of worship for Greek gods were areas of natural beauty, a bubbling spring, a grove of oak trees, and the like. As large city-states were created, large, elaborate temples were built to honor the gods. If clerics of this pantheon live in a city, they must build or work in temples within the city. If these clerics live in the country or sparsely populated areas, they must find a natural setting for the worship of their deity. Only clerics worshiping Poseidon may ride horses. All others must walk or ride in wagons or chariots. No cleric may have dealing with the clerics of other sects for any reason on non-hostile terms, as this is considered a minor transgression by their deity and punishable by the stripping away of the third and higher level spells for a lunar month. All clerics must permanently attach themselves to one temple, and this temple is the only place where they will be able to commune and where they must be drawn back to in their word of recall spells. While they may travel from this temple or gladed area if they have chosen a more natural setting, they can only receive their 6th and 7th level spells from meditation in that area. If that natural area or that temple gets sacked or despoiled in any way, the cleric loses his or her higher level spell abilities until the area is reconsecrated. Aegis. This magical shield can throw fear into the heart of any being coming from within 10 yards of it if they do not make their save versus spells. It is a +5 shield, and the fear ability must be activated by the desire of the holder. The shield also has the power to form itself into a displacer cloak with the same fear power at a word command. Its primary owner is Zeus, though Athena often has custody of it. It is used by Zeus in all of his major battles, though very occasionally he lends it to mortals he favors. There's poor doomed Medusa's head graven on it. So let's talk about Zeus, that cockholster. So Zeus, he's chaotic good. Worshippers align, all good alignments. I think the Greek gods just get worshippers through people who are terrified otherwise. 25th level cleric, 17th level fighter, 20th level magic user illusionist, and he's a 15th level bard with max stats across the board because of course he does. Armor class -2, 400 hit points. Come on, Chris, say it. Armor class -2, we can take him. Yeah, womanizer is a very polite way for saying what Zeus did. Read up on Leda and the Swan. Huh, you don't have any choice in this. Anyway. He usually appears as a human bearded male, powerful physique. His shape changes often, his disdain for use of armor, but will use a +5 shield to Aegis. Zeus is able to simultaneously attack and cast a 30-point lightning bolt each melee round. He wields a spear that does 6 to 60 points of damage. When his wounds spill blood on the earth, the blood forms a random 6th level monster. This can happen once per round. The monster will then fight for Zeus until dead or 48 hours elapse. A giant white eagle is always at the god's side, and one of its type is occasionally given to those the god favors. Clerics that preach the god's ways is a symbol of an eagle, ram, and an oak tree in their teachings. Their symbols, these symbols are also incorporated in the cleric's vestment and holy relics. He's a son of Kronos and Rhea. He led the gods in their overthrow of the Titans and became their general ruler. He is the lord of the upper air and major ruler of the outer planes of Olympus. However, his rule is not always absolute, and the other gods and goddesses may argue his decisions. The White Eagle of Zeus, armor class 2, 100 hit points, neutral good, 50-foot wingspan, a trio of attacks, 2 claws, and a beak. 10% magic resistant. Greeks are the murder hobo gods. Awig, you nailed it. That's it. And Jim Rosloff does the lion's share of the art for this section. Not all of it, but a good portion of it. The bird is very special, and though it appears to be a normal giant of its breed, it is not. The creature can teleport from plane to plane. It talks to Zeus and is often used to carry large loads of the gods' thunderbolts into battle. It acts as Zeus's messenger and symbol. In battle, it attacks as a 16+ hit dice monster with its 2 claws and its huge beak. It's going to hit you. Volcano God asks, have I ever learned why the deities have classes? I think it's two things. I think it's to give a reference point for where those abilities might start. Like if you have a god that has 15th level paladin abilities, that gives you, the DM, a starting point to understand what some of those abilities might be, rather than listing out in the text, this god can lay on hands for 30 points of damage at will. They have protection from evil. They can turn undead. They can summon a warhorse. They can cast clerical spells of this level, etc., etc. When you see 15th level paladin, you as the DM already know it's just shorthand for describing those skills. Of course, we have heroes who, more often than not, were tormented by the gods. And we have Achilles, 90 hit points, 2 attacks for 1 to 10. He's a 15th level fighter. And of course, we all know about Achilles. The son of King Peleus and the sea nymph Thetis. He wears +2 chainmail and +2 shield into battle, all gold-plated. He's a charioteer who uses immortal horses to pull his chariot at 24 inches a turn. His skin cannot be pierced by edged weapons, except at his left heel. That might be important. Only bludgeon-type weapons can harm him in battle. Achilles, warrior man of war, made a 28-minute... Man of war gives me gas. Antaeus, giant. Hey, mister, how much for the giant Antaeus? He's a low, intelligent, chaotic, evil giant with every attack. Every attack. He's the offspring of Poseidon and Gaia, the original Earth deity. He grows stronger each round he fights, and as long as he remains on the Earth, Antaeus starts... he starts similar to a hill giant in size and appearance, but every round he fights, he grows, gaining in size and strength until he reaches Titan strength and size. Each time he grows, all damage he has taken is healed, and he increases a further 25 hit points, up to 250 total. Even after he ceases growing, all damage he takes in one round is healed in the next, as long as he remains on the Earth. Antaeus will remain at Titan size as long as he fights, gradually shrinking when the battle is over. If he's lifted off the ground, he loses strength and size at the same rate he gained it, and will no longer heal, but he always attacks as a 16-hit dice monster. Yeah, so the Hulk, basically. And Aphrodite. Lovely piece there by Jim Rosoloff. She is, for those who are curious, chaotic good. 259 hit points, armor class 4. 10th level cleric, 12th level magic user, 15th level illusionist, 10th level bard. The goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite's main ability is to generate strong, passionate mortals and gods alike. In every one of her shape change forms, she is beautiful. She can charm either sex, and once a person has viewed her and not made their saving throw against her, they can never again attack her. The simple wave of her hand causes 1 to 10 hit points of pain to any who would harm her, no saving throw. Love and beauty. Her clerics sacrifice doves to her every 10 days, and objects of art and lovely pieces of jewelry are destroyed on her altar every new moon. All of her female clerics must have a 15 or greater charisma, and her male clerics must have a constitution of 16 or better. She's an extremely vain and jealous goddess, and I would have given her chaotic neutral at best for her alignment. If any character should unfavorably compare Aphrodite's charm to his or her own, there's a 10% chance that the goddess will hear and seek vengeance. Apollo, greater god. He is the god of the sun, prophecy, music, and archery. Also chaotic good. 20th level cleric, 14th level druid, 15th level ranger, 15th level magic user illusionist, 15th level thief, 23rd level bard, and what a stack of stats he's got. Apollo appears as an incredibly handsome young man. Well, yeah. At will, he can shape change, polymorph others, turn flesh to stone, cause diseases, cure diseases, and cure serious wounds once per round. The range of his +4 bow is that of line of sight, and his +3 arrows are made of adamantite. Apollo has a lyre that is able to raise a friendly being's strength to that of Storm Giant for as long as a god plays, if he so desires. It bestows curses and casts disintegrate spells one at a time, up to once per round. He's especially fond of a human. If he's especially fond of a human, he may indirectly aid him or her in a battle or give needed advice. In battle, he casts a purple haze all in his mind. Around any single being that will act as a +5 ring of protection. He's been known to lend aid in several ways, giving his archery skill to mortals for special battles, giving his arrows as gifts, healing heroes in the thick of battle, and using his prophetic power to advise. He's also the sun god, and it is said that he carries the sun across the sky each day in his solar chariot. He and his sister Artemis are close companions. If either is in need of aid, there's a 60% chance that the other will come to help. All of Apollo's clerics must wear leaves of laurel on their vestments and must use laurel wood in their devices. Laurel or yoni wood, which is it? The laurel wreath and sun chariot are also Apollo's symbols. Then we have Ares, the god of war, that they give the proper alignment to. And even that I would question. 20th level ranger, 10th level illusionist, 12th level assassin, 12th level monk. He battles as a normal man wearing +5 chainmail. He flies into battle and can shape change at will. His +3 spear does 5 to 50 points of damage and causes fear as a spell within 10 yards of it. His +5 sword does 3 to 30 damage per strike and creates an anti-magic shell around the god at will. It also makes him invulnerable to poison or petrification. No being in the prime material plane but Ares can pick up a spear, and the spear in the hand of the god can move as a blink dog with the spear in his hand. Ares can use either spear or the sword, never both at once. Cold comfort, I think, if a god comes swinging for you, right? Is Diomedes in this chapter? I don't think so. Favorite myth about Apollo is one where he met Captain Kirk, and Kirk basically said, "We don't have to worship you anymore." the other gods aren't here anymore because they're dead. And then Kirk goes crying about it. Maybe we could have worshipped him a little. Oh, come on. Really, Jim? Really? You kill him by pointing out what a dick the Greek gods were, and then you stand there mourning him? I don't like that episode. There's a great rivalry between Athena and Ares because of their conflicting roles in combat. Ares is a god of total battle lust and love of killing and fighting, while Athena is a goddess of war and a love of style and battle art. Both clerical groups will oppose each other at every opportunity. Artemis, goddess of the hunt. She's neutral. She is a 14th level druid, a 16th level ranger, and a 10th level illusionist, and a 5th level bard. She appears in the form of a slim young girl with an obvious maidenly way about her. She shape changes at will, and any magical spell sent to her will reflect back to the sender. Whenever she is transformed into animal shape, she is hasted as the spell. Arrows shot from her +3 bow do 1 to 10 points of damage, and she only uses +2 arrows. Her maximum range is 1,000 yards. Any magical creature that fights with fang and claw cannot hurt her after seeing her once. She has absolute power over all non-magical animals of the forest. In hand-to-hand combat, she uses a slim dagger that is a +3 weapon, inflicting 2 to 20 points of damage when in her hands. As well as all of the clerics, one more time, all of the clerics in her sect are druids, and they must be pure of body as well as spirit. While she is a huntress and chases down all types of animals, this is only done for eating purposes and never for mere sport. The animals she hunts are always the ones that have gained a slight upper hand in the ecological balance of nature. She's the twin sister of Apollo, daughter of Zeus and Leto. She is also associated with the moon. Athena, goddess of wisdom in combat. Armor class -2, 329 hit points, lawful good. She's a 20th level fighter, 12th level magic user, illusionist, 20th level cleric, 14th level druid, 12th level bard. And her stats are on the next page. Or her text, rather. She usually appears as a beautiful woman wearing a war helm and carrying a spear and shield. She's often seen with an owl on her shoulder. She shape changes at will, moves as a blink dog, and she never misses her target. Her weapon does 5 to 50 points of damage per strike. Her shield has a Medusa head upon it, and those looking at it may be turned to stone just as if it were alive. Her helm creates an anti-magic shell whenever she wishes, through which she can cast spells. Her clerics are aggressive in their attempts to spread her worship and are contemptful of all other clerics. Whenever possible, they will act to oppose clerics of Ares. Moving on. Yeah, I was thinking that about the Adventuring Radius too. Atlas, Greater Titan, strength personified. He's a Titan, so he's chaotic evil, but Titans in the monster manual are chaotic good, so make of that what you will. He is a 19th level fighter and a 10th level monk. This Greater Titan is massively built, and his primary attribute is his great strength. The strength is drawn from the prime material plane. When the Titan is on other planes, he only has strength of 25, but when on the prime material plane, there's nothing he can't lift, nothing he can't bend, and nothing he can't break. Despite his alignment, if he gives his word on a matter, he will keep it even unto death. Bellerophon, hero, 69 hit points. Nice. Lawful good, 10th level ranger. Yeah, I'm going to have to dig back into my Greek history and find out how they shafted him. I'm sorry, I don't like the Greek deities. I don't. He's the son of Glaucus, a king. He is credited with defeating the king of the Chimerae. He rode a Pegasus into battle against several other enchanted monsters and defeated them all with his javelins and war spear. There's a 25% chance that at any given time a god or goddess of Olympus will be watching over him, and if so, there's a 75% chance that he will be saved by the Watcher if Bellerophon is in mortal danger. Cerberus, Garden of Hades. The neutral evil three-headed dog. Looks like Jim was kind of going for a bull mastiff or a Rottweiler look there. 3 to 30 bites. The beast is always found guarding the doorway to the House of Hades. Is a monstrous dog with three mastiff heads and a huge body. He not only keeps beings out, he keeps them in and cannot be magicked away from his post by any force. Each head bites for 3 to 30. The middle head spews forth a powerful poisonous spittle up to 30, which kills on contact, no saving throw. The collective gaze of all three heads turns mortals to stone, 1 per round, saving throw applies. It attacks as a 16 plus hit die monster, may only use 1 attack form per head per round. The creature regenerates 5 points per melee round. Circe, the Black Sorceress, Chaotic Evil, 15th level Cleric Druid, 51 hit points. She's a 12th level Magic user, 9th level Illusionist, 5th level Bard. Her main magical attacks all deal with polymorphing humans into animals of one type or another. Towards this end, she has every magical device capable of turning creatures into other creatures. Polymorph wands, polymorph potions, polymorph scrolls, and the like. She is the one who intercepted the hero Odysseus and his crew, changed the crew into pigs, and fell in love with Odysseus. She always wears revealing black gowns to meet mortals. She is almost immortal and does not appear to age. Circe also possesses great prophetic powers and can give useful advice if she wishes, but with that alignment, I wouldn't hold out for it. Kois, Greater Titan of Fear. He is Chaotic Evil. 16th level fighter, 15th level magic user. Appears as a horrifying Greater Titan, and he kills by fear. All those that do not make their saving throw versus magic will be struck with a loss of 25% of their total hit points every time they see him angry. He can shape change at will. When first coming within 20 yards of him, a saving throw versus spells must be made, or the being will die of fright. Makes that no contact pizza delivery key if this guy doesn't want to get in trouble with Domino's. Wave of Mutilation asks, has anyone read Cerberus the Aardvark? Cerebus. Yeah, I have. Dave Sim. We could do an entire episode talking about that weird beard. He uses a +5 sword in battle that strikes for 5 to 30 points of damage. He travels only at night and never fights during the day. I don't know why. More people would see him and he'd kill more people. Yeah. Cerebus the Aardvark is like the closest that I can think of that is like, it is, imagine having to listen to the entire Frank Zappa catalog, live albums included, the entirety of his output that has ever been recorded, and then when you get to the end of it, you have to start over and do that like 5 times. That's what like reading Dave Sims' Aardvark is like. It is that self-indulgent. Crius, Greater Titan of Density and Gravity, also chaotic evil. He's a 15th level cleric, a 16th level fighter, 15th level magic user. He can increase the weight of objects at will, and he can make things weightless. He's able to make any one non-living object too heavy to lift for a period of 1 to 4 melee rounds. This power can be increased to permanency if the Titan is allowed to work on the object for 1 full turn. In battle, the Titan creates a field of gravity that causes anything launched at him of a physical nature to fall short. All attackers will be at -4 on their chances to hit and -1 on their armor classes while in this field. Likewise, dexterity bonuses do not apply. The Titan of Quantum Gravity. Moving on. The Greater Cyclops. That are actually kind of fun. 15 hit dice plus 1 to 8 hit points. So, yeah, effectively a 16 hit die monster. They're chaotic good. They're big. They're nice. These giants were a gift to Hephaestus by his mother Hera. They are much more intelligent than lesser Cyclops and serve the blacksmith god in his mountain and in underwater caves near the shores of some major city-states. They're able to live very well on land or in the water and spend most of their time making javelins of lightning, magic armor, and shields, etc. They're immune to all fire attacks, accustomed as they are to the great heat of Hephaestus' forge. If mortal beings bring them gifts they can use, there's a 20% chance that they will reward the mortal with one of their magic items. There's an 80% chance they'll kill the gift bringer for his presumption. They have no qualms about using their own magic items in attack or defense. Each Greater Cyclops wears a personal set of magical scale mail. Lesser Cyclops. Chaotic Evil, 13 hit dice. These brutes appear as extremely ugly and huge hill giant types with one eye under a beetling brow. They are usually solitary creatures and react violently to any mortal who dares disturb them. Originally created by Poseidon, they usually inhabit islands. They always have a supply of huge boulders at hand to hurl for 4 to 40 points of damage, and they can toss these rocks up to 50 inches. Demeter, goddess of agriculture. You guys are getting your humanities lesson tonight. She's neutral good. I can't think of anything horrible that Demeter did in Greek myths, but if somebody wants to catch me up and, say, oh, she turned a bunch of orphans into ants and then stepped on them, I wouldn't be surprised. If you want to clue me in, that's fine. Demeter. She's a 14th level druid, a 12th level ranger, a 15th level illusionist, and a 10th level bard. She appears in the form of a beautiful woman. She shape changes at will, can create any type of weather for any length of time, can summon and control any type of plant or animal she wills. Hey, volcano god, locate plant. And can polymorph others at will. She rides a chariot pulled by 2 ancient green dragons. In battle, she uses a +2 spear of ashwood that strikes for 2 to 20 points of damage. She's the goddess of agriculture, specifically grain, and no grain will grow on the earth if she neglects her duties. Dionysus, god of wine, who looks suspiciously like Robert Plant. Didn't she? Well, okay, I knew somebody would bring me the news. Dionysus. Chaotic neutral. That fits. That's finally an alignment that fits. 15th level cleric, 14th level fighter, 13th level magic user illusionist, 19th level bard. As the god of wine, Dionysus has a dual nature. On the one hand, he represents joy, pleasure, and camaraderie. On the other hand, savage, mindless, bloodthirsty violence. He represents the fact that wine can induce both happiness and madness. I'm happy and angry. If you remember that episode of The Simpsons with Ralph. While Dionysus most often appears as a young man in a purple robe, he also likes to appear in lion, panther, dolphin, and bear shapes. He can shape change at will, cast any polymorph spell whenever he wishes, and can control any type of feline or earth sign creature. He savagely inflicts madness upon any who attacks or discomforts him, save versus spells at -4. He is also protective of his temples and high-level clerics, and may, if greatly outraged, inflict this same madness upon defilers of his holy places. Dionysus rides a panther-drawn chariot, which moves at 24 inches, and there's their stats. You can see them up on screen there. Uses his Thyrsus in battle. Thyrsus in battle, which inflicts 4 to 40 points of damage at a touch. It's a staff tipped with a pine cone and twined with ivy. It's a symbol of Dionysus and all his clerics. The god's staff has the following powers. It can restore all dead things to life as a raised dead. It allows a holder to teleport from any plant he or she is touching to any other plant, and it acts as a mirror of life trapping at a touch instead of a gaze. Well, I think we can go to the Dungeon Master's Guide for the Madness Jack Photon. Yeah, there you go. Rush Hemispheres. And Cletus, Giant. Low intelligence, chaotic evil. 2 attacks for 7 to 70. Ow. That's going to sting. That's going to leave a mark. 85 feet tall. This giant has a huge snake body and has used snake bodies and tails for legs. It is known to live alone in a desolate swamp. He's so horrifying that any who come within 100 yards of him must save versus spells or flee in fear as the spell. There is a power in this being's hands that allows it to grab spells out of the air and negate them before they have time to function. And Cletus can grab up to 4 spells directed at him per melee round. If he does not grab spells, he can strike with his fist for 7 to 70 points of damage each. He can grab 2 spells with one hand and strike with the other if he chooses. The giant fights as a 16-hit die monster and has been known to fight against the gods of Olympus if given a chance. Epimetheus, Afterthought. He's a titan. He's chaotic good. The bumbling brother of Prometheus, this greater titan, means well, but is not very careful with his creations. He can create as does Prometheus, but there's a 45% chance that the creature he makes will fight him. He is fond of mankind, and if he is paying attention when a person does a particularly difficult act, judge's option, there's a 5% chance that the god will reward the being with a ball of clay. This ball can be made into any 4th level creature, but there's a 60% chance a creature will try to kill rather than obey its maker. All that is necessary for the mortal is to toss a ball on the ground and call on the creature that is desired. If it does not attack the person, it will obey him or her until its death. Epimetheus can strike with his fist for 9 to 90 points of damage each. I'm going to knock you out. Zeus said knock you out. The Furies. I love this one too, man. So much going on in that drawing. That scan does not do it justice. So the Furies are neutral. Damage per attack 5 to 30. Special attacks, ability reduction. These 3 spirits are the punishment force of the gods. I don't know why they need them. The gods seem perfectly able to screw up human beings' lives. Mortals who perform an act the gods determine must be punished will face the wrath of the Furies. They appear as old winged crones carrying metal barbed whips and attack as 16-hit dice monsters. Their main attribute is the power to find anyone or anything on any plane they are on, as long as he, she, or it is not hidden by magical means. Wear that ring of invisibility, boys and girls, if you're going to say something nasty about the gods. Their punishment cannot be appealed, and the whips have the power to strip away points in a being's ability categories with every hit, intelligence, strength, and the like, besides doing hit point damage. The amount and type of points lost is always commensurate with the victim's crime against the gods. Hades, god of the underworld. Another great drawing by Roslov. Neutral evil, 20th level cleric, 15th level fighter, 25th level illusionist, 15th level assassin, first time we've seen that, and 15th level monk. Charisma is 24 or -9. Note, not -7. That is the one instance of a deity with a negative charisma going below -7. That's how fearsome this dude can look. The plane where Hades resides is known to most mortals by the name of its most powerful ruler. He appears as a heavily muscled, dark-skinned man. When in a pleasant mood and talking to mortals, he appears handsome and kind, but when fighting, the god appears as a hideous humanoid with fangs and flame for eyes. Hades' shape changes at will, and his eyes can cast 2 death spells every melee round up to 120 feet if he's not engaged in hand-to-hand combat. To touch his body with any non-metal object will cause an explosion of death rays to strike all of those in a 30-foot radius, saving throw applicable. But does that include the person touching? Hey, little mortal man, up top. Slap. Sorry about your friends. He has complete control over all things made of the earth and can alter the form of any amount of earth with a word. With this power, the god can make a sword turn into dust or a suit of armor turn into gold, saving throw applicable. The House of Hades is a dark underground place with eternal fires of lava burning in pools. The dead move to the god's command, and mortals do not see them unless Hades wills it so. In this place are several items of note, such as his chair of forgetfulness, which was designed to cause a being, I would assume it's going to be, it makes them forget. We're on page 69, by the way. Nice. Makes him forget his or her past and become devoted to Hades when sat in. He often tricked powerful mortals and lesser gods and goddesses into the chair, and there they remained until freed. His jet black chariot is pulled by nightmares, and while in this vehicle, he cannot be touched by mortals or gods alike. The god also possesses a helm that renders him invisible to all beings, even in battle, though he is only allowed to use this device in service against the enemies of the gods of Olympus. There is only one entrance to the House of Hades, and that is guarded by Cerberus. CF. The god uses a +4 sword in battle that does 5 to 50 hit points of damage per strike. Hecate, goddess of magic. Again, Jim, thank you. Lovely drawing there. She is lawful evil. 14th level druid. Magic user losing his special. Let's see what that is. Strength 12, intelligence 25, wisdom 9. Dexterity 20, Constitution 22, Charisma 25. Appears as a beautiful woman and is able to use any magic user or illusionist spell as often as she likes without restriction, as if she were 20th level. From sunset to sunrise, she's able to cast 2 spells per melee round in any combination. During the day, she only casts 1. She has twin spheres of annihilation with her at all times that move to attack her enemies. These devices move by themselves after being started and cannot be controlled by mortals. Doesn't Disney own the right? I don't think Disney owns the right to the Greek myths, but I could be wrong at this point. She has 9 hellhounds as servants with maximum hit points and abilities. They're sent out to hunt down all those who would desecrate her temples or attack her clerics of greater than 10th level, a 10% chance of this happening with every such act. All of her clerics have a special rapport with the hellhounds. Hellhounds will never attack them in any case, and Hecate's clerics have a chance of controlling them equal to their chance of affecting special undead. Clerics sacrificed to her on the night of the full moon. Her images often have 3 faces. The 100-handed one, and I'm not going to say that. 300 hit point, number of attacks 10, 3 to 30 each. Chaotic neutral. Oh, hi, Hera. We'll get over to you in a minute. These beings are giants that have 100 arms and 50 heads, with an unusually high manual dexterity. All are bitter enemies of the gods of Olympus. If they desire to grab a being, a strength of 18 will give the grab being a 10% chance of pulling free, with a 1% increase for every percentage point of strength over 50. So the maximum you might have is a 60% chance of getting free. They hurl groups of boulders at their enemies, which act as meteor swarm spell for damaging effect. Their maximum range is 30 inches. Opponents who get close may be struck by up to 10 fists simultaneously. Huge opponents can be struck by an additional 3 to 30 more. They strike as 16-hit die monsters. Ouch. Hephaestus, god of blacksmiths. Neutral, worshippers align, all workers of metal, including dwarves. Hammer and anvil, 18th level fighter, 18th level magic user. Good stats across the board, only an average of charisma. Looks like a tall hill giant with a humped back and a clubbed foot. He's the only being able to easily work the extremely hard metal adamant. The god has so few worshippers that any being doing great service, judge's option, for his sect on a 5% chance will be given a +5 shield especially made to be usable by any class and not hamper him in battle. He works in a volcanic mountain with his helpers, greater cyclopses, fire elementals, Freet, and some of the lesser types of intelligent demons. The god is friend to the dwarves and has been known to personally teach their most talented smiths. A red dragon guards the tunnel entrance to his mountain. This ancient creature will always talk to those who seek entrance to discover if they are merely curious and therefore edible, or have actual business with the god. His clerics above 10th level are allowed to commune with him in the caves for advice and the like. Well, not everything is extreme. I think extremely badass, you know. No. And he's doing some work on a shield there with one of the Cyclops. And we have Hera. At least they made her neutral because, oh boy, could she be a bitch. Oh, you got unwillingly treated by Zeus and you're a good-looking woman. I'm just going to straight up murder you. He appeared to me in the form of a horse and made me. He didn't give me an option. Yeah, well, you should have known better. Zap. Anyway, she's a greater goddess, 30 hit point or 300 hit points. Armor class 2. Chris, we can take her. Worshippers align, variable, wives and intriguers. Hera looks like a very tall woman, but can shape change at will. The wife of Zeus, she's the patron of all married women. If a woman prays to the goddess about husband problems while the goddess is listening, a 5% chance, the goddess may react with a curse thrown at the offending male. As a wife of Zeus, she is constantly killing or attacking his paramours. Attempting to keep track of them has caused her to develop methods of spying and watching that are unparalleled. Because of her very strong desire for vengeance, see, I'm sticking her as lawful evil. I'm sorry. Her clerics have a revenge drive of their own. You have an unhealthy... what's it? What was it? That overdeveloped sense of revenge is going to get you in trouble someday. For the slightest imagined or real wrongdoing to her or them, the clerics will work the utmost to cause the death of the offender, sometimes taking years to plan the defeat of more powerful beings. Yeah, and by paramour, we mean victim, exactly. While Hera can strike with a rod for 2 to 20 points of damage, she sometimes uses a special voice for attacking. When she's angry, her voice does 20 points of damage to all within 50 yards because of its harshness. No saving throw. Those who do not make their saving throw versus spells will be forced to flee in terror from the sound of her screaming as the fear spell. Oh, those Greeks. Heracles, or Hercules as you like. The son of Zeus, he is a 15th level ranger and a 3rd level bard. This demigod is strength personified. He appears as a normal, very muscular man with a large beard. He's quite naive and will have nothing to do with magic users or clerics, with whom he does not trust. Well, my only consideration with neutral evil is that neutral evil is the evilest evil. It just exists to perpetuate evil. Hera's got issues, but I don't think she, I'm going to set aside the whole issue of marriage and all that and just work on doing the maximum amount of harm to everyone everywhere. And darn right about that, Volcano God. He uses a special bow at the beginning of every battle, a bow which only he can use effectively, has a range of 1 mile, and it cannot miss. At distances up to a half mile. When he battles giants and other enchanted monsters, he uses poisoned arrows. He also wields a huge club, which does 5 to 50 points of damage on a hit. He wears the skin of the magical Nemean lion. Oh, is that a creature that lives in Greece? It was. And it cannot be pierced by anything. Thrusting weapons do but 1 point of damage, plus bonuses if any. Slashing weapons do half damage, but crushing or bludgeoning weapons do full damage. When he suffers more than half his hit points, Heracles flies into a blind berserker rage, and this causes him to attack all who are within striking distance of him, friend and foe alike. When in this state, his damage bonus from strength is 25 points. What am I the goddess of? Wives that hate their cheating husband? Nah, I'm gonna just kill people at that. It is dangerous to have dealings with this hero, as the slightest insult or affront is liable to cause him to lose his temper. Like father, like son, think about it, won't you? At such times, he will act in the most direct and aggressive manner. If he is tricked by double dealing, lies, or ingratitude, he will certainly exact vengeance, though it might be years before he has the chance. Yeah, that's... Hermes, god of thieves, liars, gamblers, and arbitrators. He's a greater god, 348 points. Neutral. 14th level druid, 15th level ranger, 15th level illusionist, 25th level thief, 15th level bard. I'm kind of surprised he's not like an ultra high level cleric, if I'm being honest. Appears as a handsome teenager. He has maximum thieving abilities. He moves as a blink dog and is always hasted. Of course, he's got the flying sandals that they're about to mention. He has a pair of winged sandals that allow him to fly, has a helm of invisibility, has the ring of the same name, and he carries a white caduceus, a winged rod with entwined serpents. It was given to him by the god Apollo and became Hermes' symbol. It gives a god complete control over all non-magical creatures other than man. No saving throw. One of Hermes' functions is that of messenger of the gods to mortals, and in this capacity he will occasionally be seen by high-level clerics of the various Olympian sects, bringing messages from their deities. He also acts as arbiter of disputes between the gods. He's an attorney. All of Hermes' clerics must keep physically fit and be able to run long distances, no matter how important their position. They must carry a white rod as symbol of their devotion. Clerics of Hermes often act as professional arbitrators. The reputation for fair settlement of disputes keeps them busy in this line of work. Hermetic arbiters who accept bribes or other graft may, 15% chance of offense, be punished by the god. I don't, Robert. That actually... Yeah, run home and pray, get some spells, run back to wherever you're adventuring. Jason, hero, armor class 3, 129 hit points. 2 attacks around, damage by weapon type, neutral good, 16th level ranger, 4th level thief, 7th level bard. He's noted for his leadership ability and great strength. He roamed over the seas in a ship, the Argo, and succeeded in the quest for the Golden Fleece. This item is able to heal any wound instantly and raise the recently deceased less than 3 days by placing the fleece on the body overnight. However, after each time it is used, there's a 10% chance that it will disappear. Did Hermes commit any really evil acts? I don't know. That may be a first so far. Kronos, master of all time. .400 hit points. Former ruler of the gods and greater titans. Chaotic evil. 25th level cleric. 17th level fighter. He's got most of the stats except wisdom that Zeus does. Appears as a handsome giant. He shape changes at will, and in the beginning of any battle, he hurls lava balls. Hey, yo, these lava balls created out of thin air up to a maximum range of 200 yards, each doing 4 to 40 points of damage per strike. His Sickle of Adamant strikes as a +5 weapon for 5 to 50 points of damage. Did he commit any really evil acts? Well, he's a lawyer. Nike, goddess of victory. Also of an obsolete cruise missile type. .357 hit points, armor class -4, special defense cancellation, lawful neutral, and those wishing victory. Symbol is a winged woman. 20th level fighter. Magic user illusionist C below. She's got all the badass stats there. This unusually stubborn goddess appears as a very tall woman with wings. She always uses her divine awe power to stun lesser creatures, not caring what happens to the poor mortals that see her. Nice. But at least she's not listed as good in doing that, right? She's able to destroy any device used against her with a touch of her hand. She has a very stern way of looking at things, and her clerics are not allowed to transgress against her alignments or sect even once. If they do, they suffer death from a lightning bolt large enough to destroy them totally. She ain't messing around, and that is an absolutely gorgeous piece of artwork. That is like, what is the... From the 1900s to 1920s, maybe as far back as the 1800s. I'm sure somebody will pop in and tell me, because I have the best audience. My audience is the smartest live stream audience on YouTube. Might not be the biggest. And who do we have here that's chaotic evil? Oceanus, greater titan of the sea and water areas. And he's chaotic evil like they tend to be. 10th level cleric druid. 15th level fighter. Art Deco, that's what I'm trying to think of. Art Nouveau. Stellar Conquest, Art Nouveau. There's an Art Nouveau style to that piece by Roslo. This greater titan always has a green shimmer around his body. He's able to raise hurricane winds with a motion of his hand and create waves of great force where there is water. All creatures of water of less than divine status must obey his commands, though Poseidon outranks him on the prime material plane since the greater titans were defeated. Odysseus, the hero, 83 hit points. 2 attacks for 1 to 8. He's chaotic good, 13th level fighter, 9th level thief. He's got the stats to dual class it. While below average heights, he's a manlet. He's an extremely muscular man. He's a renowned bowman and wields a bow which has such powerful pull that only he can string it. He gains strength bonuses to hit and damage when using this bow. Nice Steely Dan reference there, Pansu's a dungeon minister. Thank you very much. It's good to see you too, my friend. Everybody say hello to the Padre. By the way, if you're not subscribed to Dungeon Minister's channel, I can't believe I haven't mentioned this in a while. Please go subscribe to Dungeon Minister's channel. You can be subscribed to both our channels. You don't have to unsubscribe from me and then go subscribe to him. Go subscribe to Dungeon Minister's channel. It's kind of part of your admission fee. He has a great YouTube channel, much shorter videos. He's done the occasional live stream, but you don't have to put up with like 2 or 3 hours of him talking. And sometimes he has neat cameos in his videos. During the Trojan War, he added to his reputation of craftiness and cunning with various stratagems. Until Jim just loved writing that sentence. He is credited with the idea of the wooden horse ruse used to take the city. When returning home from Troy, Odysseus was blown off course and landed on an island of the Lesser Cyclopses. To escape from the human-eating Polyphemus, Odysseus had to blind the giant. As he was Poseidon's child, this act brought about Poseidon's curse and forced Odysseus to wander for 10 years, never quite able to return home. What did he get, like 5 feet from his front door? Shit, I left something on the boat. He goes back to the boat, swept out to sea. Son of a... Some of the dangers he overcame were lands of the Lotus Eaters, Circe the Sorceress, a journey to Hades, the Sirens, stealing the cattle of the Sun Titan Hyperion, sailing between the monsters Scylla and Charybdis, and enchantment by the nymph Calypso. Eventually, Odysseus reached his home island of Ithaca, only to find that his wife besieged by suitors who were convinced he was dead. In a fit of rage, he slew all the suitors almost single-handedly. Yikes. Just so you know, the heroes were kind of dicks too. Pan, god of nature and wild passion. Pan in the place where you live. He's chaotic neutral. Number of attacks, 3 every 2 rounds, 359 hit points, armor class -2. Symbol, the Syrinx. We are the priests of the temple of Syrinx. Hit a lot of good people that just flew into mass murderous rages. Yeah. Thank you. It was fun to do. I'm available for birthdays, bar mitzvahs, weddings. Just contact my people. As god of nature, Pan has 2 aspects. Oh, by the way, he's a 15th level illusionist. Hey, he's got a stack of abilities. 14th level druid, 13th level ranger, 15th level illusionist, 15th level thief, 15th level bard. He has 2 aspects. On the one hand, he represents the beneficence and fertility of nature. On the other, the fearsome indifferent destructiveness of natural forces. Depending on his move, an encounter with Pan can be terrifying or delightful. In appearance, he has the trunk of a human with small goat horns on his head and legs and hooves like those of a large goat. You mean like a satyr? He looks like a satyr. You could have just said he looks like a satyr, Jim. His main power comes from the sound of his voice. He has an intense dislike for Apollo and is constantly playing practical jokes on the god of music. His fists strike for 3 to 30 points. His voice is able to cause fear as a spell. His syrinx is a set of reed pipes that he plays as a rod of beguiling. This instrument is able to cause any beings who fail their saving throw to become the blindly loving friends of the god. In times of danger and when he has suffered the loss of more than 25% of his hit points, he is able to shout so that all beings within 100 feet must run in fear for 4 melee rounds. No saving throw. Pan and Apollo are enemies because Apollo replaced Pan in several areas, particularly music. This caused Pan to lose some worshippers to Apollo. Their rivalry extends to the prime material plane, where their clerics are often at cross purposes. Perseus, hero. Yeah, it turns out, we made Medusa, and for no fucking reason. So here's a crap ton of weapons. Go murder her. She went insane because of what we did to her, again, for no reason. So go murder her for us. Lawful good, 15th level paladin with 18 strength. It's just all the stats. He was responsible for taking the head of the first and most powerful Medusa and was favored by many of the gods. Hades loaned him a helm of invisibility. Hermes gave him a pair of winged sandals. And a vorpal blade, and Athena lent him the bright Aegis shield, though all of these were later returned. Yeah. Oh, you're not keeping those. You are a useful little assassin. Now be gone. Poseidon, god of seas, oceans, storms, and earthquakes. Seas, oceans, streams, and earthquakes. He is chaotic neutral. 12th level cleric druid, 13th level fighter, 17th level magic user illusionist, 10th level bard. Appears as a huge human and may command any non-divine creature of the water. Release the Kraken. At will, he shape changes, summons water beings, and creates life in any form, often originating new life forms at a whim. His anger at coastal towns who fail to sacrifice to him monthly may cause him to react in one of the following three ways. He may take all of the young males of the town in blood sacrifice. He may reduce the town to rubble in an earthquake, or he may flood the town and the surrounding countryside. Jackwagon. He's responsible for the creation of all horses, and he rewards his high priests and priestesses for exceptional services with a paladin quality horse for their use. Fights with +5 trident for the hits for 4 to 4. I'm back. That was scary. I was in the dark. I disappeared. I don't know what happened. God, that was a couple of minutes ago, but I'm back now. I don't know where we lost that at. It's good to be back. What was the last god you guys heard? I'm playing with the Greek gods. Poseidon. Okay, so yeah, we had gotten up to Prometheus. Poseidon. I'm scrolling up here. Let me get over here. All right. Go back to Hecate. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure you guys will like that. Maybe Susan got me. Maybe Susan over at YouTube is a Greek god worshiper. Maybe she's a loyalist to Hera. So anyway, this is Prometheus. He stole fire, gave it to mortals for his trouble. He had the griffin vulture ripping his liver out every day. He is a 13th level cleric druid, 16th level ranger, 15th level magic user, 10th level thief, 10th level bard, loves humanity, is neutral good, and after 30 years, Zeus let Heracles free him from, every day having his liver torn out by this creature. And was invited to live in Olympus. I'm this guy. I get invited to Olympus. I'm showing up with a few things to say to Zeus. Hecate and her twin spheres. Brodo. Theseus, also a hero. He defeated the first and most powerful Minotaur. He's noted for his bravery and fearlessness, but often lost struggles for power because of his refusal to deal on anything but an honest and open level with his enemies. He can be counted on to know the habits and weaknesses of all enemies he faces, both magical and non-magical. Theseus was all right. Then we have Tyche, the goddess of good fortune. Neutral worshippers, those wishing luck. 25 is nearly across the board. Appears as a rather small, slim elfin woman. She's able to cast good luck as a spell. The recipient of the spell will always win any single contest, no matter what the odds. She can also shape change at will and speak with anything. If threatened, her touch drains 1/2 the total original hit points of her attacker. No saving throw. She has a small blue sphere that is able to absorb any one single attack in any melee round and reflect the total damage that attack would have done back at the being within touching distance of her person. This device is a function of her luck and will not work for anyone else. She's not treated very well in the Pantheon, as the other deities think of her as a poor relative and not really of divine caliber. She is therefore not often willing to aid them in their struggles against giants, titans, and the like. Good. Don't. Screw them. And that completes the Greek pantheon. that completes the Greek pantheon. So you guys can see now why I don't like them. Of all of the pantheons, up and down the dial, I mean, again, the Cthulhu mythos, you know what you're going to get, and it's not going to be good. It says it right on the tin. But the beings, at least within the myths, that the Greek gods suckered into worshiping them, I mean, they treat Tyche like shit. Don't even get me started on poor Prometheus. Half of the heroes end up getting shafted. Medusa, again, not to belabor the point. They're awful. They're awful people. They're awful, awful people. They are the equivalent of the worst middle management you've ever worked for. Like, hands up, who likes the show The Office? Right? You know how it was when Dwight got a little bit of power? That's what most of the Greek gods are. Dwight getting power. Steve Carell leaves and Dwight gets the power. That's what she said. They're terrible, terrible people in every way. And they are people. They suck. I mean, ignoring their personalities, taking some of their abilities in a box just by themselves, they're fine. But looking at them as a whole, I mean, it speaks volumes about the Greeks historically that they viewed them so badly. And yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The Greek gods were made so Greeks could understand their darker desires, right? And I mean, any gods that were invented to explain they were placeholders for things you couldn't understand. Why does the sun rise and set? Well, that's Apollo. He's got the sun in his chariot. Or, that's Ra, a dung beetle pushing the sun across the sky, right? But looking at them as an in-game mechanic, that like I would never run an AD&D campaign set against the backdrop of Greek myths. Any sane, rational player would be just terrified out of their mind. They get up in the morning, go bake a little bit of bread, burn some incense at the temple, and then creep home quietly and hope that nothing bad happened to them. So I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. So ultimately, I feel like you can do a lot better. I mean, you know, you want something structured. You want like, well, these heroes report to these demigods, and these demigods report to these lesser gods, and these lesser gods report to these greater gods, and these greater gods report to the top. Go for Chinese myths. You want something open and airy and more natural. American Indian myths. You want something that is more freewheeling and chaotic, yet at the same time not inimical to your character's well-being. Go with Celtic myths. You want something that's a little more Mediterranean flavored, Babylonian or Sumerian myths. Yeah, the Eurasians, the chaos thing, just nerds. Yeah, I mean, honestly, a book on Greek myths for D&D should have been that thick by itself. This could have been like 100-volume set of books, but Jim kind of narrowed it down and did the best he could with it. And I want to go back to a question that Volcano had asked, and just kind of clarify a little bit. The reason the gods are given 15th level paladin, 9th level assassin, 10th level bard, 21st level druid, 7th level in cleric, 15th level magic user and illusionist, and all that, is it's not so much that you think, oh, well, look at all, you know, let's think about all the experience points they'd have to have. It's more, again, it's those are index tabs. They're not so much you think of them as, wow, how did they get those abilities, or, you know, why have them? Is their index tabs, they're hyperlinks. Okay, knowing that a given god has 17 levels in druid, you as a dungeon master can go to the player's handbook and look up everything a druid of 17th level could do, and they can do that. And because they're gods, assume they have access to all the spells in the spell book. Don't create them if they're magic user illusionists, don't create them spell books where they're like, well, I don't know, right? I can't put, no, they're God, they're going to know that. But again, it gives you an idea. Okay, how many of these can they use every day if they get caught on their back foot and they have to use these spells? Or again, 17th level ranger. Okay, well, they can do this, and they can cast spells, and, you know, they can attack giants with these bonuses and whatnot, and etc. So that is why they're hyperlinks to power sets that make it easy for the dungeon master to index those and go back and have those to hand when they when players are interacting with the gods in a martial sense, which they kind of shouldn't be doing. And as far as why give them any stats at all, I mean, ultimately, it's because it's a D&D book. It is because it is a Dungeons and Dragons book. And players just have a desire for that kind of thing. How many pluses? How many hit points? How much damage per round? How many spells? How many levels? What are its stats? Does it have psionics? How fast can it move? Players and DMs alike desire to know these things, even if they never impinge on your game. It's just fun stuff. I mean, there's here's a case in point. I have up here, I have BattleTech technical readouts. And the BattleTech technical readouts of the 80s and whatnot, a lot of them reference things in the write-ups and the descriptions of the battle mechs that have no bearing on the game as it was back then. And, they might say, well, this mech had developmental problems for the longest time because its ankle actuators kept locking up, meaning that when it would land after using its jump jets, it might fall over. Or this mech was top heavy and had problems running through urban terrain or forested terrain. Despite 14 heat sinks, this mech had a tendency to overheat due to the closeness of the large laser to its engine, whatever. But almost immediately, what I saw in the BattleTech communities were players creating stats for those things. They really wanted to see what the mechanical effects of those things were. And as the years wore on, as BattleTech grew, they invented in-game effects for those things. And then said, okay, now the Marauder has short-range tracking bonus. Stuff at short range, it gets a bonus to hit. But it's at a negative to hit longer range things. Because in the book it says it has the Dalban high-res targeting and tracking system and how good it is at keeping track of multiple targets at short range. So now we've quantified it. That's what players like to see. A book that just says, here's the Native American myths. Here's what they thought of Hiawatha. Here's what they thought of just Thunderbird, Coyote, on down the list. Most players have an innate desire to see those numbers. Even if they're never, you're never going to square off toe-to-toe against Azathoth, ever. Or Ariok, or Zeus, or Marduk, or whoever. But it is a thing that players like to see. And that's why that's how we end up with stats for gods. It's because players want to see it. And it is a good metric. It is still a good metric. Even in AD&D, it is a good metric for players who insist, no, I have a character with 1,000 hit points and an army of 10 million men, and two ancient gold dragons at my beck and call. Excuse me. Here is immortal Odin, 400 hit points, all the stuff he can do, 25s across the board, a god as old as the universe, Odin, if you're going into the Norse mythos, right? They're supposed to be the highest watermark. Am I getting too ridiculous? Let's look at your player character, Bob. 299 hit points, 75th level paladin, multiple paladin war horses. You've got an umbrella stand full of Holy Avenger Vorpal swords. Nope, not at my table. Because here's Thor. You hold up the book. Here's Thor. Here's Zeus. Here's Cthulhu. Here's Ariok. So that ultimately is why we have stats in the book. Otherwise, it's kind of meh. Otherwise, it's a book published by TSR that doesn't have much in the way of numbers. And it does have, like, the Nawan mythos stuff, there's a lot of stuff in there that's just good monster-y goodness. There's stuff in all the pantheons that can just be like, this person is a hero. They're a legendary hero, but they can be confronted and dealt with by player characters. Marduk says I. Anyway, that's my answer to why have statted out gods and deities and demigods. I think it personally goes all the way back to OD&D, as it's not a collection of monsters that we can kill and then gain XP for. It is literally just meant, it is a signpost. It is a warning. It is the red line, right? It's the far end of the gauge. It's not the red line is up here. When you got your fighters with over 100 hit points, the red line is up here. You bury the needle past the red line and it's just tapping against the far right-hand side of the glass gauge. That's when your player characters are like, I think we can take him. And him that you're pointing at is, Zeus. You'd see me decide not to engage. You can actually watch the gears shift in my brain as I decide not to address that. So that's what I have to now. That would have been a fine way to end Deities Demigods, but Volcano God earlier, he said, why even have them statted up? And there's your answer. I hope there's your answer. I mean, and ultimately, it's fun. It's kind of fun. Not everything has to be 100% utilitarian. We're not all, lawful neutral drones. So that's what I have to say about that. Although I will say, it wasn't commonly known at the time of the publication of the book, because I didn't really start hearing about this until the 90s, was no mention of the Antheria machine. And if you don't know what the Antheria machine is, Google it. Prepare to have your minds blown. And I remember discussing this with my wife. So you got the Antheria machine, right? The Antheria machine is an analog computer. It is an analog navigational computer. They found one at the bottom of the Aegean and on a shipwreck, and realized, oh my God, this is it. First of all, it's from a couple thousand years ago. Second of all, it is a precisely machined, finely machined device that is manually actuated, that is probably some kind of guidance computer. Like you would like, okay, well, where are we? Well, let's put some figures into this. Oh, okay, they're lines up. Yeah, it's perfect. And thank you, Wave of Mutilation. But here's the really cool speculative part. You could have a little steampunky fun with this. The age that's from comes mighty close to the age that just down the way a little bit in what is now modern day Iraq, they were using batteries. They were using inline sequences of batteries to do electroplating with. Now, the Greeks had similarly used batteries. It basically, people would go up and they'd put their hands on the altar and they'd receive a little bit of a shock. But the Persians, or not the Persians, the Babylonians were using those batteries on the regular for industrial purposes. The Romans didn't really see a use for it, but they invented early steam engines. You see where I'm going with this? But for just a little bit more proximity, we could have had steam-powered ships with electrically driven electromechanical analog computers as guidance systems. And it could have grown it. Just wrap your heads around that for a second, guys. In the Mediterranean 2,000 years ago, somebody puts peanut butter and jelly together, and we wind up with computer technology, the computer revolution starting back then. Wouldn't that just blow your mind? Would that not just blow your mind? Christopher Zim says, was everybody here for the last chapter of the Cthulhu game last Friday? Go back and watch Bill's reaction as madness took over around 57 minutes. That was great. By the way, Tonka Todd, it's all your fault and you should feel terrible. You succumbed to madness. You murdered your friends. And then you were eaten by Niogtha. How does that make you feel? It's all your fault. They're dead. Todd knows I'm just messing with him. Oh, that was a lot of fun. Do you guys want next Halloween me to do you want me to do another like month-long horror campaign? I think I broke Todd. You shouldn't feel bad. It's a Call of Cthulhu game. It is exactly. Play it however you want. Sudden paranoia creeping in. You got scared and if I live to be 100, pick him up, Rax shotgun. You're gonna take him out of here. We're leaving. Now understand, you're all against me. You're all in on it. What a moment. What a great moment that was. That was good TV right there. So yeah, that was good. So speaking of Fridays, tomorrow night we're back to Gamma World, which is equally horrible, but in a different way, in a post-apocalypse way, not in a, So so anyway, yeah, we'll be back with Call of Cthulhu tomorrow night. Monday night, just some reminiscences. Tuesday night, we'll be playing first edition AD&D. So Monday night. Now, before tomorrow night's game, we will still be reading Deities and Demigods. We're not done with Deities and Demigods by any stretch. We're about halfway through the book. So tomorrow night we'll continue on, then play Gamma World, and then Monday more Deities and Demigods. Tuesday more Deities and Demigods and first edition AD&D. Wednesday, if Kyle is back to fighting form, we'll be playing Classic Traveler. Thursday, probably more Deities and Demigods. Friday, more Deities and Demigods, and then Gamma World again. So that's next week. That's all next week. That's the rest of this week and next week. That's right, Duncan Todd, Bogo Jorts. Once I finish this book, what's next? I don't know. We might take a break from talking about D&D exclusively on the show. I have plenty of other classic role-playing games for the moment. We could take a look at. I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question. So we'll see when we get there. But until we do get there, everybody, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for sticking around through apparently this thing deciding to crash midway stream tonight. Thank you for sticking around despite there not being a show yesterday, and continuing to stick around through all the ups and downs and curves and hiccup. Y'all have a wonderful evening. I love you all. Thank you. And be good to each other. Peace.